The independent investigation report that has been before us today has given a very clear, qualified opinion as to how Scarborough Borough Council's role has been undertaken in carrying out the DBID ballot. Whilst we must accept the summary conclusions contained within Peter Sanders' report at section 6 of the report, and in particular to 6.1 through to 6.2, as these are based on available evidence and fact, I believe we must also share our concerns in regards of some of the areas of failings as highlighted by Mr. Peter Stanyan. We have the terms of reference before us, and key to our deliberations has been 1.3b. Is there any evidence to demonstrate that there was a material irregularity in the carrying out of the DBID ballot, and if so, what was this irregularity? And the final paragraph of 1.3, which states, in his instructions to me, Peter Edwards also advised that the above instructions were not exhaustive and that were the investigation to identify any other area of concern relating to the proper conduct of the DBID ballot and Scarborough Borough Council's role in administering it, then that area should be reviewed and reported on. And of course, we have seen that this has been duly undertaken. I have concerns as to who knew that Redcar and Cleveland Council were going to withdraw before it became public, as processes and dates of compliance were delayed beyond the agreed receipt dates. 4.20 references Redcar and Cleveland withdrawing on the 11th of October, a mere 5 working days before the notice of ballot needed to be sent to voters. This withdrawal, in my opinion, made a material difference to the business plan. In brackets, the words within the document merely reference the plan needing to be amended, close brackets. And as such, a revised business plan was made available on the DBID proposer's website. How was this promoted and was it publicised in any other way? Copies were said to have been sent to businesses, but no number of businesses has been referenced as to who received them. When the Scarborough Borough Council's electoral services team suggested a delay, in brackets, because of the change of the plan and as permitted by the regulations, why was this not agreed? That has already been asked this afternoon. 4.40, to proceed to ballot requires the DBID proposer to send to the relevant billing authority a notice in writing, requesting it to instruct the ballot holder to hold the DBID ballot. This was promised to the Borough Council by the 20th of September, but was not received until the 11th of October, following the withdrawal of Redcar and Cleveland, which, surprisingly, happened on the same day. This was a delay of 21 calendar days. Did the DBID proposer know that Redcar and Cleveland were going to withdraw? And was this the reason for the delay? If so, this should raise questions as to whether, at that point, the whole process should have been paused. The list of voters. Once again, this data was promised to Scarborough Borough Council by the 4th of October, but not received until the 12th of October, stating that the primary reason for this delay was withdrawal of Redcar and Cleveland Council, which happened on the 11th, which was a week after the expectation of this data. Again, the question is raised as to who knew what. 4.52. There may be an opinion given that this is a clear example of the inconsistent approach undertaken by Scarborough Borough Council in regards to how the notices of ballot and the ballot papers were delivered, and in particular, as to how they were addressed. All notices of ballot and ballot papers for Scarborough Borough Council's hereditaments were addressed in a way that ensured that they were delivered and received. This was not the case for the other notices of ballots and ballot papers, although there would have been a clear expectation that the same approach to posting was afforded to all. 4.56, there was no receipt for the 1,354 documents handed over to TNT, and yet for any other ballot or election, this would have been standard procedure. That has been noted as a flaw and a failing, and we cannot clearly determine why. 61 notices of ballot were returned and 42 ballot papers returned as undeliverable. No process was in place to attempt a redelivery, and yet in other local authority areas for bid ballots, efforts have been made to redirect such ballots in the interest of affecting participation. There have been concerns raised and expressed about the thoroughness and by no mistake, and an opinion that this was not as thorough as the team needed. That will be looked at by scrutiny, I am sure. 5.13, there are significant concerns raised in respect of the list of voters. This list was submitted far too late, putting undue pressure on the electoral team. When the data was cleansed, the names of the bill payers were replaced with the words owner or occupier. The names, where known, should have been used. By ensuring that all notice of ballots and ballot papers for Scarborough Borough Council properties were delivered in a manner that ensured delivery. This has a disproportional, in brackets, positive effect in regards to properties owned by the local authorities involved. An opinion given by Peter Stanyard at 5.20 states, this classification, although not in direct contravention with the regulations, is, in my opinion, incompatible with the ballot being administered in a consistent and fair manner. 5.37, Peter Stanyard states, I am also not convinced that the revised business plan was communicated to all 1,354 businesses remaining in the DBID area following Redcar and Cleveland's withdrawal. This was imperative as it made fundamental changes to the original proposal. I would be so bold as to say that this made a material difference to the proposal, and as such the whole process should have, in the least, been paused until evidence was available to prove beyond reasonable doubt that all businesses had received it. Peter Stanyard goes on to state in 5.40, his view is that communication between the DBID proposer and the levy payers has been throughout. All in all, this has been a sorry process from inception to conclusion, pepper potted with inconsistencies, poor communication, amended business plans and DBID areas, giving nothing but confusion to both the ballot processor, Scarborough Borough Council, and the businesses that the bid proposer courted to support their scheme. We live within a democracy, and we, as councillors, sit on an authority determined by the democratic vote. We expect our ballots to be held in a consistent and fair manner, and if they were not conducted in that way, we will be calling the local authority and electoral service teams to account. This is what we've all come to expect, but when it is not delivered, then we have the right to challenge, just as the members of the public and businesses have demonstrated throughout their challenge. Now that is my opinion, and I find it quite damning. Certain flaws have led to an inconsistent and unfair approach. Now, it is not my place to give a recommendation based on that. That's my opinion, which I will share with the overview and scrutiny.